Mr. Rayner, a calm and soft-spoken man in his late 30s, stepped into his new classroom with quiet confidence. It was his first day teaching at Westview High, a school notorious for driving away teachers within weeks, sometimes even days. The students were tough, jaded, and quick to test authority. Word had already spread that a fresh victim had arrived, and the class of 10th graders was ready to pounce. The moment Mr. Rayner greeted the class, the snickers started. Someone mimicked his voice. Another tossed a paper ball that landed right at his feet. A group near the back began whispering loud enough for him to hear, "He's shaking. He's scared." But Mr. Rayner didn't flinch. He picked up the paper ball, placed it gently in the bin, and looked around the room with an unsettling calm. Then he walked to the whiteboard and wrote 2 words in thick black marker, "My brother." He turned to the class and said, "I had a brother. His name was Micah. He was smarter than me, funnier than me, broken bar, and he was bullied every single day from middle school to senior year." The room grew quieter, but some students still smirked. He told the teachers. No one helped. He told their parents. They tried, but the damage was done. Every insult, every shove, every joke had added up. Mr. Rayner's voice was steady, but his eyes shimmered. A few students stopped their whispering. One day, after school, he came home early. I was 17. He was 16. I heard the front door open and close, and then a broken bar. Mr. Rayner's voice caught slightly. "A broken bar. I found him in the garage. He'd left me a note. Said he was tired of being everyone's punchline. Said he thought he was broken." The silence in the room was absolute now. Even the most hardened students were frozen. I became a teacher because I never want another Micah to feel like there's no one on their side. And because I believe even bullies aren't born cruel, they're just hurting too. He paused, letting that sink in. "I don't know your stories yet, but I know one thing. You will not break me. And if you're in pain, I'll see it. If you're lost, I'll help. But if you try to destroy someone in this room, I will stop you." He stepped back, hands behind his back. "Now," he said softly, "who's ready to learn something real?" The same students who were smirking minutes ago now sat still, eyes low, faces heavy with the weight of what they'd just heard. A few murmured apologies. One student in the back, one of the loudest earlier, raised his hand and simply said, "I'm sorry, sir." In just 60 seconds, Mr. Rayner didn't just silence a room, he changed it. And from that day forward, no one dared test him, and not out of fear, but out of respect. Mr. Cole had the look of someone who didn't belong in a high school classroom. Clean-cut, muscular, with sharp eyes that scanned every corner of the room like he was assessing threats. He was dressed simply, a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up, and a plain watch on his wrist. The moment he stepped onto room 204, every student in the class took note. "New meat," one of them whispered. Westbridge High had a reputation for breaking teachers, especially this class of Period 6. It was the dumping ground for the most disrespectful, disruptive students in the school. They had a game going. How fast could they get the teacher to either cry, yell, or quit? The moment Mr. Cole placed his binder on the desk, it started. A chair screeched loudly against the floor. A student named Tyrell kicked his desk over on purpose and laughed. 2 others near the back began hurling insults, and not subtle ones, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Hey, army man, this ain't boot camp. You lost or something, G.I. Joe?" Someone tossed a crumpled juice box that bounced off the whiteboard behind him. Mr. Cole didn't flinch. He calmly walked to the center of the room, eyes scanning the students. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet but commanding. "You've got about 5 seconds to decide whether you want to be children in a broken bar or students." Laughter erupted. That was the final straw for Jalen, one of the leaders of the group. He stood up, towering over his desk, puffed his chest, and walked toward Mr. Cole like he was about to start a fight. The others cheered him on. That's when everything changed. In a blur of the motion, Mr. Cole sidestepped Jalen's approach, used one hand to redirect him gently but firmly into a chair, and placed the other hand calmly on the desk beside him. The move was effortless. No violence, no anger, just perfect control. The room went dead silent. Jalen looked stunned. "How do you a broken bar?" Mr. Cole smiled slightly. "Non-violent redirection. I taught it to Marines who had to deal with hostage situations. You think a few high school insults are going to shake me?" He turned slowly to the rest of the class. "I've served in combat zones. I've defused bombs under pressure. You think I can't handle a flying juice box?" The room was frozen in place. No one moved. No one even blinked. Then Mr. Cole leaned on the desk and said, "But that's not why I'm here. I didn't come here to fight you. I came here because I believe half of you are acting tough to hide pain, and the other half, you just need someone to believe in you. Well, I do. But if you try to intimidate me, just know Thesa, I don't scare easy. I protect." In the back, a hand slowly raised. It was Tyrella, the one who kicked over his desk. His voice cracked a little. "Yo, my bought a broken bar. I didn't know you were like that." Jalen muttered, "Same." Respect. Within 60 seconds, the most feared class in Westbridge had gone from rebellion to reflection. Not because Mr. Cole yelled, not because he punished anyone, but because he showed strength without arrogance, authority without ego. And after that day, no one dared mess with him again. They didn't call him Mr. Cole anymore. They called him Sir. Miss Alara arrived at Crestview High on a cloudy Monday morning, quietly stepping into a job most teachers wouldn't touch. Room 108 was infamous, not just for failing grades and chaos, but for the tight-knit group of bullies who ruled it. These students had driven out 3 teachers in one semester. No one lasted more than 2 weeks. They had their own system, their own twisted version of power. When Miss Alara walked in, the students barely looked up. She was small, soft-spoken, with delicate features and thick glasses, a easy prey, they thought. The ringleader, Brandon, leaned back in his chair and gave a loud yawn. "Oh no, another one," he said with a smirk. "They just keep sending victims." Laughter rippled through the room. Without missing a beat, Miss Alara walked to the board and calmly wrote her name. Then, instead of launching into the lesson, she turned around and said, "I'd like to start by getting to know all of you." Brandon rolled his eyes. "You can try, but we ain't gonna care." Miss Alara smiled gently. Then she pointed at him. Brandon Keyes, you failed English for 2 straight years. You had a fight in the cafeteria last March over a stolen phone, and you were almost expelled." Brandon sat up, eyebrows furrowed. She turned to a girl in the corner. "Lena, you've been suspended 3 times for vaping in the bathrooms. Your parents think you're at your grandmother's after school, but you usually hang out 2 blocks down behind the closed 7-Eleven. Lena's jaw dropped. Miss Alara continued down the line. She named personal details about each of them, things they hadn't told any teacher, things they hadn't told anyone. "You broke the vending machine last Friday night. You paid someone to write your term paper last semester. You threatened a sophomore to get his lunch money." She listed it all without raising her voice, without anger, without judgment, just facts. Calm, measured, exact. By the end of it, not a single student spoke. Then she said, "You're probably wondering how I know. Let's just say, I do my research." Her eyes scanned the stunned faces. "I wasn't sent here as your teacher, not at first. I was hired by the district's disciplinary board to investigate a pattern of student abuse, cyberbullying, and intimidation. You've left a trail, online, in texts, in hallways. It ends now." Brandon tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "You're broken bar, you're a cop or something?" "I'm a teacher now," she said softly. "But I know more about every one of you than your parents do. I know who you are online, who you've hurt, and how. And I also know that none of you are beyond help." Her voice softened further. "I don't want to punish you. I want to teach you. But make no mistake here, you will never get away with what you've done again." The silence was heavy. Brandon looked down at his desk. Lena blinked back tears. Another student whispered, "We're sorry." In just 60 seconds, Miss Alara dismantled their illusion of control. Not by yelling, not with threats, but with quiet knowledge and unshakable authority. From that day forward, the bullies were no longer feared. She was. The bell rang, and the students of room 2B slouched into their seats, already buzzing with energy. They had heard the rumors some new substitute was coming in for Mr. Dorsey, the history teacher who finally cracked and quit last week after someone put a frag in his coffee mug. The class had made a sport out of breaking subs. They even had a whiteboard tally near the back with names crossed out like fallen gladiators. The record for fastest sub to walk out was 11 minutes. They were ready to beat it. At exactly 9 a.m., the door creaked open. In walked the man who looked like he got lost on his way to the dad convention. Brown corduroy pants, Hawaiian shirt tucked in, big goofy glasses, a smile like he had no idea what he was walking into. He carried a battered briefcase and a cup of something labeled "World's Okayest Teacher." He stood at the front, wrote Mr. D on the board in large letters, and turned to face the class. Silence. Then it started. "Yo, where's your time machine, Mr. D?" One student snorted. "Is that your real hair, or did you steal it from a mop?" Another chimed in. "Man looks like he teaches bingo at the senior center." The class erupted in laughter. Mr. D blinked, tilted his head, and then smiled. "You're right," he said. "I do look like I teach bingo. Lucky for you, today's prize is learning how not to embarrass yourselves in public." He strolled to the front row, pointed at the first boy who had spoken. "You, what's your name?" "You a broken bar Trey." "Cool, Trey. Did your mom help you pick that haircut, or did you lose a bet?" The class gasped. Trey blinked. "To broken bar what?" Mr. D turned to another. "And you, the one in the SpongeBob hood. Yeah, how's it feel to get roasted by a man who shops at thrift stores and still has more drip than you?" Laughter again, but this time it was at them. Mr. D didn't stop. In under 60 seconds, he delivered a lightning round of clever, perfectly aimed comebacks, and never cruel, never mean, but sharper than a paper cut. Each roast was followed by a quick smile, a nod, and a playful tone that made it clear he wasn't angry, he was just better at their own game. The class couldn't believe it. The bullies tried to keep up, but every insult they threw was flipped back like a boomerang, faster, funnier, and with 10 times the sting. Even the quiet kids were laughing. One of them actually clapped. After a particularly savage comeback involving TikTok followers and a missing sock, the loudest bully finally held up his hands. Okay, chill. You win, Mr. D." Mr. D paused, took a sip from his mug, and said, "I wasn't trying to win. I was just making sure we started this class with honesty. I'm not here to get bullied. And I'm definitely not here to cry in the parking lot. I'm here to teach. But I can multitask if I have to." Silence, then applause. From that moment on, the energy in the room changed. Mr. D wasn't just respected, he was loved. The student who roasted the hardest ended up asking for help with his essay. Trey offered to carry Mr. D's briefcase the next day. And the whiteboard in the back, they erased it and wrote a new title. Mr. D, Undefeated Champion.